A peek into CC's fascinating discography, a world of rape-happy demons and eternally blemished carcasses. A cheerful place for you and for me to visit, explore and analyze. I don't want to hear any more of this libelous scrap about my favorite band being primitive sickos trying to make an easy buck with insecure little nerdy teens. Cannibal Corpse are so much more than that. So much more. Just look at the cover. Butchered at Birth is actually an existential musing about the human condition, namely the condition of the human body after it has been properly torn apart by two bloodthirsty demons posing as a chooses. How they got into the nursery looking like that I'll never know, but their actions would have Sartre and Hegel discussing this philosophical dilemma at length, no doubt about that. Covered with Sores is a touching death metal ballad about the trials and tribulations and the emotional turmoil of living in a small plague-ridden 17th century Dutch village. You don't get this kind of dramatic depth in your average TV soap opera. Innards Decay is merely a medical student's essay about what happens to all of our organs if they aren't kept in a freezer after the body dies. It is straightforward, scientific, hence a refreshingly informative little ditty. Vomit the Soul is another thinking man's number. It deals with the question of how the soul leaves the body after a Cannibal Corpse band member dies. Through the mouth, as the title suggests, along with all the cheeseburgers the CC member had devoured. Through the nose? Through the anus? So much to consider, so little time to ponder. Musically, the album is a monotonous concoction of non-melodic, predictable riffs and a voice that sounds like so run with a bad case of flu. But since when do we CC fans care about the music anyway? We're in it for the blood, gore and philosophy.
When children crave attention from adults, they scream and sob. When adults seek attention from children, they become either lame pop singers, brain-dead Hollywood stars, or they form a band called Cannibal Corpse, and release albums like Butchered at Birth and Gallery of Suicide, with CD covers that are a mix of satanic rituals and pathological medicine. Nevertheless, the opening track Hammer Smashed Face is very good. It starts off uninterestingly enough in a typically monotonous CC manner, but the second riff starts off the good stuff, culminating in one of the better fast thrash parts I'd heard in the 90s. Whoever happened to be the auteur of the lyrics in the band needs to know that there are certain lines that one puts between words called dashes, such as the dash that is missing in Hammer Smashed Face. It should be Hammer Smashed Face. Unless of course they are saying that the hammer smashed the face, but then the title would have to be The Hammer Smashed the Face, a Hammer Smashed the Face, a Hammer Smashed, a Face, or The Hammer Smashed, a Face. None of these 5 options are the same, especially a hammer smashed a face, which would imply random, senseless violence, something CC stand firmly against. Yeah. I know it's a bit nitpickish, especially considering the inanity of hip-hop lyrics for example, but I like to keep my death metal grammatically hygienic. Anyway, Addicted to Vaginal Skin and Necropedophile also have 1 or 2 good riffs. As for the former, who isn't addicted to vaginal skin? It's a hymn for all men and lesbians to embrace. The gays have its raining men, and we straight guys and lesbians should request Addicted to Vaginal Skin to be played at weddings and parties. Post-mortal ejaculation is a touching number about the loneliness of the long-distance corpse, a human condition story that's right up there with Miller's The Death of a Salesman. In fact, it might be the very same salesman who is experiencing the sexual explosion in this little CC number. However, apart from the 1 or 2 good tracks, this and the rest are all typical one-dimensional death metal with vocals that sound like lactose-intolerant bisons farting unison.
A quarter of a century has passed, and it's the same relentless demons doing the same dopey things they'd always done, ever since graduating from CC's School of Demonic Bloodletting. Cannibal Corpse had already firmly established themselves as the AC/DC of death metal, and this album mostly continues on this very exciting path, offering just as much variety as a Soviet gulag buffet. The opener Demented Aggression showcases the band's love of violence, and misplaced adjectives. Isn't aggression always demented though, at least a bit? Still, to be fair, at least it isn't an oxymoron, such as soft aggression or placid aggression. Or pacifist genocide. Oops, that slipped out. Now CC are liable to plagiarize from me, yet again. I bet if they ever write that song it will have a guy called Gandhi Hitler butchering little kids with a kitchen knife. Oops, gave them another idea. At first I thought that Sarcophagic Frenzy was about sacrilegious gays being involved in an orgy of senseless violence, but then I realized that this particular word would not be allowed by the American PC police, unlike beeping a demon's beep with a chainsaw, for example, which is of course perfectly alright for most censors. That is, this little song has no homosexual themes or even subplots. Because demons don't yet have their own social justice movement or pressure groups to enforce respect toward them. So until demons finally start getting treated fairly, like all the other minorities, they shall have to just sit back and watch, listen to songs that go into detail about how their beeps are being hacked with chainsaws, as if demons don't have right to a dignified existence like everyone else. As if demons actually enjoy having their genitals cut up. As if demons deserve to have their genitals butchered. I really resent that. Such discrimination. Scourge of Iron is a major disappointment. They should have sold this title to Blind Guardian or Hammerfall. They would have used it only too gladly. CC are cheesy enough as it is. Mentioning iron and thereby aligning themselves, intentionally or not, with the power metal scene is a clear case of fondufying your cheese far more than is necessary, or even physically possible. Encased in Concrete is like a chapter out of a civil engineering college textbook. What the hell do I care about how you encase things in concrete? When CC make mention of concrete, bricks, or any other construction gadgets, I want them to have a face-smashing purpose only. If possible with a hammer. I don't care how these things are used to build things. CC has never been about building that is creation, but sheer senseless destruction. It ought to stay that way. Keep your predictable AC/DC ways, guys, do not ever expand into different territory. Anybody can be original, the trick is to be repetitive. That's more like it. As deep as the knife will go. Wow. I have always wanted to know exactly how deep a knife will go, and now I finally have my answer. Exactly 8.5 inches, according to the lyrics. Great death metal and educational. Yo, that's what it's all about, bro. Word. Intestinal crank. Cranky intestines? No clue what's going on here. Too hoi polloi for me. This band is not too well known for getting the order of events right every time, but in this case the chronology is more than correct. Followed home then killed is a very serious number that has a multi-purpose. 1. It warns any female CC fans, all 4 of them, not to go home alone after a CC gig because a young, zit-faced, sex-starved, male virgin CC fan might be following them afterwards. Most male CC fans are quite small and weak so that the average female CC fan can fight them off with minimal effort, but you never know, because they might gang up. 2. The song acts as a guide for all physically weak, virginal male CC fans, all 3 million of them, on how to stalk a female CC fan after yet another gig of make-believe senseless violence, and even more senseless music. So it's a win-win situation for both sexes. Next up is the strangulation chair. I dunno about this one. I mean, we all love chairs. We need them in order to rest our butts occasionally. Actually, the legs because butts are never tired cause they hardly do anything, aside from make space for turds to go through, but never mind, you already know that from several CC songs. And surely strangulation is fun too. But strangulation chairs? Perhaps after we just followed a rare female CC fan after a gig, managed to somehow kidnap her, tie her up on a chair, and then unsuccessfully tried to masturbate to her. So what is left to do after one's own sexual inadequacy proves to be too embarrassing to let her live and tell everybody about it? Well, strangulation. But why in a chair? Perhaps because we CC fans are too weak to do it while she's standing. She might kick us in our blue nuts and easily escape. Well, at least they didn't call it strangulating chair, which would imply that the chair actually has arms and legs and does the strangulating itself. Or is this song about a chair that strangulates people after all? I don't see how a chair can do that, because it has no arms. Except an armchair, of course. So if this is about those, the song should be called the Strangulation Armchair. Caged. Contorted is a confusing one. I don't like it when bands are too lazy to fill in the gaps in their song titles, but line up 3 dots between words instead. But perhaps we CC fans need a bit of brain exercise now and again. So, okay, here goes. No pun intended, and by that I mean those 3 dots I just typed in. Caged, beaten, slammed against the cage bars, mutilated, and contorted. Is that what they meant? Oh, my head hurts from all the thinking. Please, guys, spell everything out clearly next time. Crucifier avenged makes little sense. Shouldn't the crucifix be avenged? He is the one who got the short end of the stick in this scrap deal. The crucifier is the lucky one. He got to crucify the crucifix. Or perhaps the crucifier was crucified himself afterwards by family members of the crucifix, thereby turning the crucifier into a crucifix? Oh, my head hurts again, too complicated. Intellectual death metal never works. Rabbit. At first I'd misread this as rabbit. The lighting in my trailer is weak sometimes. That really shocked me for a second, made me fear that they'd softened up suddenly. A sequel to Alice in Wonderland would be so inappropriate, so not in line with this band's image, doctrine and philosophy. Then again, what if CC did a horror version of Alice? Would she eat the rabbit whole or butcher him up into little pieces and then throw him to all her cannibal friends as they walk down the yellow brick road? Sorry, getting confused there. Different movie. Torn Through is a nice little title, evoking gruesome images of a living torso being punctured by a huge hammer smashed demon's horns. Or something like that. Fun for the family, and I hope it gets its current PG rating demoted to G so everyone can enjoy it.
Priests of Sodom, scalding hail to decompose. A cauldron of hate, beheading and burning, evidence in the furnace. Carnivorous swarm, evisceration plague, shatter their bones, carrying sculpted entity, unnatural, skewered from ear to eye. All melodic, all bright and sunny, all girly with sugar and spice and everything nice. And all hammering home the important message that demons are people too.